Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us for the latest in our series of live videos this week. Hopefully you got a chance to watch that live virtual groundbreaking yesterday afternoon for Rail Yard Flats. Great time, even better project. If you missed that, we're going to post a video recap of that event on Facebook here yet this afternoon. Hopefully you can watch the whole thing on our website. So that was a fun diversion for the week. Looking ahead to tomorrow, this is like the week of themed weeks, I guess, because it's Nurses Week. So tomorrow we're going to be talking with Megan Goldammer. She's the Chief Nursing Officer at Sanford Health. Lots to discuss there. It is also, however, Tourism Week. And so I'm extremely excited today to get an update on all things tourism related with my good friend and the state's leader in tourism, Secretary Jim Hagen. Hello.
Hello,
How's
Jody.
it
It's good
going?
to be with you.
Great to have you. So much to discuss, and viewers, you've been warned. Jim and I could probably chat, I don't know, for a really long time. We've been known to do that. So there's no telling what might happen. So don't let me ask all the questions here. Floor is yours as well. So if you're watching live and you've got some things related to tourism that you're wondering about, he's the guy to ask. So please go ahead and ask us your questions, because I would be glad to pass those along as we have our conversation here this afternoon. So first of all, Jim, I know you are updated all the time on the state of your industry, which is rapidly changing. So as we sit here, May 6th, 1 p.m., how would you describe the landscape as it relates to tourism in South Dakota?
Jody, it's been about the same as it has been for about the last 30 days. So since about March 14th, we have seen dramatic declines in travel spending in our state. So the latest data that we have shows, as of last week, an 89, almost 90% decline in travel spending
Wow.
in South Dakota. Also, hotel occupancy, as we all know, is either single digits. If it's in the double digits, you're talking maybe 12, 16% at the most. But it's the impacts have just been incredible. When you look nationwide, just to put it in perspective, and then you can fit South Dakota into this puzzle. The tourism industry, as of May 1st, nationwide has shed 8 million jobs nationwide, and the economic impacts of this virus on the tourism industry are 9 times greater than what we saw after 9/11 in that horrific terrorist attack in New York City. So it's almost hard to get your mind around all of that. Yeah, it's been devastating. There's just no other way to slice and dice it. It's just, the impacts on this sector of the economy, as on so many, have just been horrific.
Yes, that's just, those numbers are unbelievable to me. And I think it's the sustained nature of this, first of all. I mean, after 9/11, things shut down quickly. They certainly were sluggish for a while, but I mean, we weren't seeing empty hotel after empty hotel with seemingly no end in sight. I mean, I have to think there will be a gradual return to travel, but boy, I think it's going to be very gradual. And you are hearing kind of industry analysis and a lot of surveying, right, of customers, and what are you taking away from that as far as what consumers are thinking, are feeling, or expecting as it relates to travel?
Yeah, you're spot on, Jody. After 9/11, we can all remember just the overwhelming fear we felt, but that fear didn't last, months, 2 months or longer. And we had that fear, and the impact was there, but people were still traveling when things opened up, and people were still staying in hotels. This virus is just completely different because you factor in the fear, which has only really grown survey after survey, and folks, just the interest in traveling right now just isn't there right now. So what we're seeing in survey after survey is folks really saying this: one, they have a fear of traveling right now and they're not ready to travel. Two, they have a fear of being in large crowds and they don't want to be in things like a festival or a concert, that sort of scenario. Three, this consumer sentiment on, do you want to see visitors in your state or in your city or in your backyard? Now that has gotten a little bit better since the survey last week, but it's still trending over 50 to 60% negative. So people know that at some point they want to get back to a state of normal. Citizens know that, and they want to see the travel and tourism sector rebound, but we're just not there yet. And so, what I'm saying is, those three narratives don't necessarily fit us to a T completely, but I am talking to South Dakotans every single week who are not in the tourism industry, who are expressing those same sort of concerns. So what I'm telling the industry is, one, we have to be very, very careful as you reopen your business or you start welcoming visitors, that they know they're safe when they come here. Without safety in place, tourism will not exist. So first and foremost, safety has got to be at the top of everybody's agenda. And whether that's health and safety protocols you're putting in place in your business, it's signage, it's the message that you're giving to potential travelers. That is going to be key. They need to feel safe when they come here. So things are starting to trend a little bit better in terms of people feeling better about travel, but we're not there yet.
You know what just popped in my mind too, which I think is worth pointing out, is this industry and hotels in particular can live or die based on reviews. Right? And as people very gradually start getting back into this, even now, I mean, it's not like these are 0% occupancy. They might be 10%, 20%. There are people still staying there. And if they do not have a good customer experience and begin sharing that, boy, you're in trouble, aren't you, as a hotel?
Oh my goodness, yes. I mean, you couldn't have said it any better. And it is why, and I can't stress this enough, that when visitors do come to stay in your hotel in particular, make sure that they are seeing visible signs that you are taking their safety seriously. I don't care if you have a dozen signs on big foam core laying out the safety protocols in your hotel or your business. You have to do that. Having hand sanitizer everywhere, disinfecting wipes, sneeze guards, letting them know that room that they're staying in has been meticulously cleaned, following all CDC guidelines, Department of Health guidelines. It's absolutely going to be critical. Jody, I was on a call earlier this morning with the CVB directors from around the state, and we were talking about this new normal that we're in. And someone asked the question, how long do you think we will stay in this new normal in terms of safety? And I said, you know what? I think it's here to stay in perpetuity. We have reached a different phase in the travel and tourism industry whereby guests are going to expect that level of safety from here on. Every time they travel, they're going to want to know those rooms are meticulously clean, those lobbies are meticulously clean, those restaurants are meticulously clean, those menus, everything, silverware, it doesn't matter. It's a new normal, and I don't know that I see us ever getting out of that. And I don't think that's a bad thing. So, but businesses have to start thinking about that and how that will impact the way they do business and their budgets moving forward.
Great point. I was going to say the same thing. I don't know that it's a bad thing. How often do you come home from traveling somewhere and you're sick? You don't know where you picked it up, but obviously somewhere along the way. So no, I mean, I think there are probably benefits to that. Those of you watching, we have a growing number of viewers right now. If we've got some friends of Jim's out there, why don't you let us know who you are? I'd love to know who's watching so we can say hi to you. And if you have questions for him, please do go ahead and send those in. I think about visitor attractions. Now we've talked a lot about hotels. Let's shift a little bit to attractions. And again, everybody's kind of got a different approach to this. I mean, everything from the wide open state park, which I know has seen some real nice visitor attendance, to the Disney worlds of the universe, right? And everything in between as far as how many people they're trying to accommodate in one place. Where do you see us going as a state in terms of our visitor attractions? Obviously, we have some that are open now and doing great. What's maybe that next phase that we might start to see begin to reopen, do you think?
Yeah, that's such a great question. And There's not an easy answer, Jody, because I think every municipality in every region of the state will be different. It's not necessarily a one size fits all. One thing that we have put together for the department is just a graph for us. We have the month of May, the month of June, and the month of July, and looking at how we start phasing in our marketing and start inspiring visitors to think about us, and then taking that next step to, okay, they're past the inspiration stage, but now they're ready to possibly book. So how do we start positioning ourselves there? And then when they get to the what I'll call phase three of we're ready to go. So it's sort of a ready, set, go approach. We have our, as you mentioned, our state park. So it was funny, not funny. It was encouraging actually to see the numbers for April. So our state parks in April welcomed 476,000 visitors.
Oh
Now
my
that's
God.
half the population of our state, and
Yes.
50% more visitors this April than Game Fish and Park saw last April. So people were definitely taking the advice from the governor and the CDC and others to get outside, take a mental health break, get some sunshine, socially distance. Um, I believe that our state parks, yeah, they're open now, and I think you'll see them probably be the first out of the gate to officially open, again with safety protocols in place. We have hotels that I know have officially opened on May 1st, others looking at the end of May. But everybody is really paying close attention to that consumer sentiment again. What are visitors saying? And so, one thing I want people to keep in mind is we may have our state citizenry saying, hey, we're ready to go. But we have to remember our target markets of Minneapolis and Chicago and Omaha and Denver, in those sort of states. What's happening in those states? Are they still in a lockdown situation? Is travel discouraged? If they travel to our state, when they go back to their state, will they have to undergo a 14-day quarantine? So those are the things we're also looking at in our target markets to base our next phases on. So we'll continue to see this gradual reopening, I believe, through May into June. But again, we have to be really careful, and we'll be keeping a close eye on what the virus is doing in our state. What are our cases doing? Are we seeing any spikes? Are we seeing that downward trend? So it's hard to answer right now, but I would say three phases of ready, set, go. We are ready today. We're not quite seeing the sentiment of visitors saying, okay, we're now moving from inspiration into possibly booking, and then the go when they're ready. So we'll keep a close eye on that. Our goal was sort of, could we be ready by the end of May for that? I don't know. Could we be ready with our new marketing campaign to hit our target markets June 15th? I don't know at this point. It's very fluid, but we have those target dates in place. But again, they can be moved quite easily.
Yeah, sort of that unofficial start of the summer season anyway with Memorial Day
Right.
would be great. But I mean, to your point, this is very different elsewhere around the country from a regulatory standpoint, even I think from a consumer sentiment standpoint. I feel like we're a lot more accepting of maybe a little bit more risk out here than I'm hearing in other parts of the country. So, yeah, very good point. I want to say hi to some of our viewers. Elisha Bondi says, hi, Jim. Thanks for being a great leader
Oh,
for this
Elijah,
industry.
hello.
And our buddy Mary Hublow, always nice to see her, also says, thanks, Jim. Hi, Mary. Hope you're doing well.
Awesome. That's awesome. Hello
Yeah.
to everybody.
You know, I feel for the workforce in this industry too, as I'm sure you do. I mean, up and down, from those frontline workers in hotels to people such as your team and you know Mary's team over at the CVB. I mean, people who support the industry and right now want nothing more than to support the industry and can't because you know the funding has already become such a huge issue. I think maybe people don't actually realize how directly the tourism industry funds the organizations that help bring even more tourists to
That's
our
right.
area. So what a
Yeah,
difficult time.
for sure. My heart, let's take Sioux Falls and Terry Schmidt, our dear mutual friend. So the Experience Sioux Falls is funded by a bin tax from people staying in hotels to provide funding for the staff and for their marketing. And I know that Terry had to furlough 9 of her staff members last week, and that is so difficult because um, what is especially challenging is when we're ready to turn the corner and we recover, we're going to need Experience Sioux Falls to be there, to lead the charge, to tell the story of Sioux Falls, to entice those visitors here. And that's true of all CVBs and chambers around the state. At the state level too, our budget is funded by a tourism tax and Deadwood gaming funds, and we don't get general fund tax dollars from the state. And essentially those dollars have really dried up. And so you just every day is a struggle, and your heart just breaks for people like Terry and her team, because I see the awesome work that they're doing every single week, and it's been spectacular. And these are good people. They love this city. They love Sioux Falls. They love South Dakota. They love the Southeast region, and they're just passionate about enticing visitors and conventions and everything else to the state, to the city. So, we will get through this. We will recover. We'll get back to normal at some point in time. It sure is painful right now.
Yeah, it sure is. Another hello there from our friend Wes Eisenhower. Says, hi, Jim. Proud of the work you're doing. Thanks for being a great representative of our state. Very nice. Great.
Oh, that's great. Wes is awesome. For those who don't know, for your viewers who don't know, Wes has done a lot of our videography work over the last 18 months or so. It's really been awesome. So thank you, Wes.
And he's not put the camera down lately either. I love those occasional photos that I'll see him share. So yeah, terrific talent, and so glad that he shares that with all of us. So thanks for watching. Okay, I want to talk a little bit maybe about some opportunities, because potentially I think maybe South Dakotans do feel a bit more comfortable, or will, here in the coming weeks venturing out. So we primarily, of course, reach that Sioux Falls area audience. I know they love to go out west. They love to go to the hills. So why don't you give us a sense of how things are looking in the hills? How's Deadwood doing? And what other opportunities might our Sioux Falls audience find if they are up for taking a little road trip around the state?
Yeah, so the hills, very similar situation as probably the rest of the state. They've had less cases in the Black Hills than we've had in the eastern half of our state. So we do have a number of tourism businesses that opened May 1st, campgrounds and some hotels. We still have attractions that are waiting to see how things play out here. We have the industry as a whole out there, led by the Black Hills and Badlands Tourism Association, has been looking at a date of around May 31st to open as a region in a coordinated effort. And so, again, they're watching things very closely to see if that will be the date. I would say if you're interested in going out to the hills, please know that in all of the calls that I have been on with all of our partners, not only statewide, but in the Black Hills especially, again, safety is at the top of their minds. And so they're wanting to do everything they can to ensure the safety of those visitors. I would definitely call ahead, or feel free to call the Department of Tourism if you have any questions about a hotel or a business or an attraction or a restaurant that may be open. As for Deadwood, their mayor and their city council approved an ordinance which will open Deadwood tomorrow. The casinos will be open and businesses will be open in Deadwood. I've talked to their chamber director and CVB director, Lee Harstead, yesterday and again this morning. And it really sounds like the casinos have really great safety and health protocols in place, to the point, Jody, of if someone has used a slot machine, it will immediately be wiped down and disinfected with a Post-it note sticker saying this machine has been disinfected for the next player. So they're going to be that meticulous, especially in Deadwood. So again, taking precautions. People are definitely opening, but keeping a close eye on the situation. Again, we know it's fluid. But if you have any questions about, should I go out there, what's open, don't hesitate to call out ahead of time to the destination you're heading, or call our department. We'll put you in touch with the right people.
Yeah, good advice. I mean, just be prepared for a lot of changes, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it just seems we know this, everyone's business model has had to adapt enormously. I'll share this with you quick. Our viewers might have seen it already, but one tiny example. But our friends over at Royal Fork, the buffet restaurant, opening tomorrow. And it's gonna be different, right? I mean, in casinos, same thing. I think buffet, right? It's all changing. So you're not gonna go up like you would have before, and started making your own plate. They're gonna do it cafeteria style. The workers will be there. You'll tell them what you want. So they're trying, and it's going to be a big adjustment and a learning curve for everybody. But it's good to see them trying. And the one thing that I can tell you for sure, just having watched and started to venture out myself here a little bit more in the last week or so, is that there's inconsistency and there are adjustments that are going to need to be made. And it's a whole different conversation when you start to bring real people into these scenarios, and your teams begin to adjust accordingly. But I know there's also a lot of guidance out there, isn't there, as far as best practices in your industry if businesses are looking for a little help?
There's so much, Jody. So last week, our department shared with the industry a resource page of best health, sanitizing, cleaning tips out there, and it ranges from CDC to the South Dakota Department of Health, to the National Restaurant Association, to the American Hotel and Lodging Association, to the EPA. I mean, there's all sorts of great resources and tips out there. So I would encourage your listeners to go to sdvisit.com. We have a red strip right at the top of that website. Just click on it. It says coronavirus or COVID-19 information, and you'll see a link there. Also, yesterday, we shared out with the industry. The U.S. Travel Association has put together a number of weeks ago a number of massive partners, from the American Hotel Lodging Association to the American Gaming Association to airlines to cruise lines, you name it. They put together epidemiologists and leading physicians to put together a set of recommendations for the travel industry nationwide, and that has great tips, resources, and protocols as well. Very easy to digest. It's about 10 pages. So that will also be on our website. But again, they did receive that via email. But make sure you're digging in to that information, because I've had a few of our businesses say to me, we don't know what to do. You need to tell us what to do. And as much as I wish I could tell every business what to do, there are guidelines. If you're a hotel, there are guidelines from the American Hotel Lodging Association that you should be tapping into, and you have to do your homework to make sure you're up to date on all the latest health and sanitation protocols, and to start implementing those. I wish I could be there for every business to tell them what to do, but you really have to dig in and do that homework and make sure you're doing what you need to do.
Yeah, good advice. That information's there, though, for sure. And everyone's been so collaborative, too. I mean, I see that across industries, even within industries. So don't be afraid to ask for help, and talk to those in similar situations, I'd say, too, because there's lots of sharing going on. I have to think, ironically here, you and I, if we were having this conversation in any other year looking toward tourism season, we always look at gas prices as an indicator, right? And now that's not an issue. So might there be some opportunity here for South Dakota, do you think, going forward, as people maybe do look for those road trips, they look for those bit more wide open spaces, a little more open air types of things to do? Is your team tapping into some of that here in your messaging?
Yeah, so we will, and that's such a great point, Jody. So gas prices, as we know, I just saw it yesterday, $1.51 in Sioux Falls at my local gas station, which is unbelievable. And there are some, I haven't shared a lot of the rays of sunshine or silver linings, but there are silver linings to what we see coming down the road. So, gas prices are going to be good. What every survey is showing is when visitors are ready to start traveling, they're going to look to regional trips versus any sort of long haul trips, and they want to do road trips. Consumers have said, I will feel the safest traveling in a car or in an RV. And that sets up our state so well, because we have always been the ultimate road trip destination. They're also saying, when I travel, I want to be able to socially distance. I want wide open spaces. I want clean air. I want clean water. I want everything that we have. These glacial lakes, rolling prairies, great hiking trails, forests, you name it. So, and they're looking for outstanding state and national parks. Now we have all of that in the southeast corner of the state in spades, the whole eastern and western half of the state. So we are going to be set up so nicely. And past pandemics have shown us, for example, when we came out of H1N1, that there was a pent up demand for travel. We know that will be there this time around as well. It may take us a bit more longer to get there in terms of people traveling, but they will travel. And some of the best years we have seen in the state are when we have come through challenges very similar to this pandemic. Now, this is unlike anything we've seen, but it will set us up well for the future. And our messaging will be of such that we are inviting people to come. Our current campaign that it hasn't started running yet, obviously, but is Great Places Are Waiting. And again, just showing these beautiful places that you can go to South Dakota and unwind and socially distance and all those things. So yeah, we're in a nutshell, we're going to be set up really well for when travelers start heading out again.
Good note to end on, I think, this tourism week. So thanks to all of you for watching. Thanks, Jim. Secretary Jim Hagen, South Dakota Department of Tourism. I absolutely will check back in with you here as the summer goes along and see how things are going, and hopefully wait for some of those visitors to begin coming to see us. So I know they will eventually. Just got to be patient.
Exactly. Thank you, Jody. Thank you, my friend.
Thanks very much. Take care. Thanks for watching, everybody. As I said, come back tomorrow. We'll talk Nurses Week. And Friday, I've got a fun surprise live video in mind for you. So we'll see how that goes. Time to be announced on that one. Thanks, as always, for watching. If you want to see a replay of this, we'll have it over there at www.siouxfalls.business. Have a great rest of your day.